The Mighty Car Mods Nationals are just days away, but before Supergramps and the double unicorn Stagia drag race, Tuning Fork has asked us to come down to the dyno so he can check how both cars are going. The Stagia does have a significant power advantage, but it's also quite a bit heavier. Both are manual, both are all-wheel drive, and both have done 12-second passes at the drags. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they go on the day, but first we want to make sure both cars are running perfectly.
I just realised this car has not been on this dyno in this colour.
No.
Which means I've been driving this thing for about a year, because we had this
It's been that long? Longer?
I think it has. I think it's been almost a year, because around this time last year was when I was reshelling it.
And it's come in wet again, straight out of the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, what are you looking to achieve with the old Supergramps today?
It's been a while, so I figured that we'd put her on and just make sure it's making the same power as it used to. And then we'll just go through, do any touch-ups, or more just a health check rather than anything else. We'll go over the motor quickly and just see how it's breathing, and being an aspirator motor that we've turbocharged, just to make sure that everything's going the way it's supposed to.
Why a V8 Stagia over a 6-cylinder Subaru?
Because the front of the Stagia looks nice, good gearbox, it's got a huge boot area or the back area to put stuff in. It's got heaps of torque, like buckets of torque, and it really is nice to drive. It's got the good gearbox behind it with the good ratios, so it feels good. If Benny's managed to put a fuel pump in it, with any luck, we can put a little bit of boost in it and see what that V8 actually does, because we're not pushing that at all, and it made 320?
Yeah, 320, 330, something like that.
If we can get a little bit of boost in it, I've got no idea what it'll make, but...
So that's probably why it's exciting, right? Because, I mean, let's be honest, this thing is sort of near the top of what's possible with aspirated motor, like you said.
Without rods and pistons, this is kind of as far as you'd really want to push this. So the next step with this is probably a little bit out of reach, because it's got the funny rods. No one really does pistons for it. By now they might. So to go any further, you're going to need to strip it down. Whereas with the Stagia, worst case, we can just rods, pistons, go straight in it. It's no headaches, and really with how big the motor is, it'll probably make 400 kilowatts as a stock setup. We've done a firmware update and we've gone from 206 to 212, which is about a year's worth of development. So there's a few little things that we've added. So things like throttle pumps or transient throttle are a lot nicer and a lot crisper. A bunch of the boost control strategies nicer, more data logging channels. So I expect it to run exactly the same. It'll be a little bit crisper on the throttle now. The OBD2 stuff, there's a lot more channels in there displaying like across the logger. So we'll just double check everything, but I'd expect it to be pretty similar.
So those updates, once you buy the unit, those updates are free?
They're always free, yeah.
Wow. So your ECU is actually getting better than when you bought it?
Yeah, so you started on, this was one of the first, well, not this exact unit, but this car started on one of the very first units. 2000 was the original release. We're up to 2.12 now, so there's probably been 30 different sort of firmware updates that just add features as they get requested.
Right, so now we're just going to spin it up, you're going to check everything, and then at some point we'll power on it to see if it's making what it used to.
Yep, exactly. So we've got 262 kilowatts. So all we've done is do a firmware update. We've tidied up just a little bit of bottom end stuff, but it's been 10 minutes, nothing at all. One pull. Interestingly, we've actually upgraded our dyno software since the last time this car was here. We've upgraded our firmware. You've done however many, 20, 30, 40,000 Ks?
Yeah, probably 20,000 Ks, I reckon.
And I do remember this made 260 kilowatts last time it came off the old dyno.
Yep.
It's now made 262. So really, if we give it another pull or two, it's going to come back to 260. It's exactly the same as it was, 30,000 Ks, a firmware update, a dyno, probably a bit of wet weather action, some skid pans, some drag racing, some putting 5 people in it and cruising around for fun, some towing lawnmowers around. You probably moved house since then.
Man, that's pretty good, eh?
For a health check, you can't get much better than that. It's the same.
It just works.
Yeah. Start up here and just go. So under full load, it's at 13.0 mixtures. And then as it starts to get above about 150 kilowatts, it comes down to about 12.0, 11.9, 12.0, 11.9, and then as it revs right over the top of its efficiency, it comes down to 11.0, just to put some fuel through it so you stop revving it.
A tiny bit of boost, Scotty. Just the little tiniest bit.
We'll just see what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Put a little bit more boost in it just to see what happens, just to see if we missed out on any kilowatts last time.
So Scotty, that's a touch up. Are you happy with it?
Man, perfect. We haven't made too many changes really. We've touched up the fueling a little bit. We've moved the boost up and down again, but it's the same story. The thing's making the same power it was making that long ago. We can feed a little bit more boost into it if you want to, but then we start to talk about the reliability of the motor, where it's done so much work the way it is. I think that for the next couple of races, it's worth, we'll leave it alone, and it's happy and it's love and life there. So let's just leave it.
Because it does get to that point, isn't it? Like, especially when you've got a turbo car and you start, modding it and everything, and you're reaching the limits of what the engine will do, it's still tempting to turn the wick up, but that can mean you're not having much fun because, like, you've got to, if it blows, you can't use your car.
Well, you've got a stock engine in it. You don't have a replacement engine that you can just pop in whenever you like. You don't really have a good supply of rods and pistons available for this motor just yet. If you had a spare engine, or if you had a built motor for it, we may as well wind it up and see what the limits of the factory motor are. But while we don't have a replacement, I don't think it's worth winding it up.
I'm still keen to do that, by the way, just for the record.
You want to wind it up till something falls out?
No, not yet. I mean, like, I definitely want to find the limits of it. But yeah, again, I've got to find parts, which I still haven't managed to do. But, we'll get there. It's all good, man. Look at this. It's done a full year at 260 kilowatts. It's done, skid pans, track days, drag strips. It's driven. I'm so happy with it.
It's just done everything.
But I think now we should probably get into the star of the show. I know that you're keen.
To the Stagia. I think, what if we have a bit of dinner and then to the Stagia?
Done deal. Let's do it.
My final result is 262.5 kilowatts or 352.1 horsepower, which is a good 100 horsepower short of what the Stagia made last time on ethanol. We have seen the engine in Gramps make 280 kilowatts plus, but we're not confident that we'll have the reliability needed, and if your engine explodes, you've already lost. Mechanical Stig has put about 5,000 Ks on this car since we last saw it on the dyno. He's made a few modifications to improve cooling and to make it run more reliably. He's also managed to make some improvements to the in-tank fuel pump setup. It doesn't have its external twin pump setup yet, but we're still hoping to see some improvement.
We did find there's actually a bleed-off valve inside the tank, so we've removed that today, and we're going to try and see if that actually makes a difference, or we were actually running out of pump. So basically the first thing is obviously going to be to determine if there is a benefit in removing it, or if it was just there because. Once we sort of work out if that was a problem or not, that'll sort of determine how the rest of the night goes. So.
Cool. And what's your plan with the pumps? Like, what are you going to do next?
Long term, I've already got two DW350 ILs and a surge tank, so that'll actually go under the car on the driver's side, where the fuel tank would normally be in like a Skyline chassis. There's a big void under there, so we're going to mount that up there, and then run a 1/2-inch hard line all the way to the front, and then just a bit of flex in the bay just where we need to. And then we should be able to still run the 5/16 return because the fuel demand will be fairly low when it's at idle and stuff like that. So we'll only run one fuel pump, and then Scotty will bring on the second pump probably just before boost starts to kick in, where there's a big demand for fuel. And by the time the fuel demand goes up, it'll be consuming a lot more fuel, which means there'll be less return anyway. So we should be right to leave the stock size return.
And what do you want to achieve today, Scotty? Where are you up with it?
I don't really have high hopes, to be completely honest, only that I've done a few other cars with these pumps on ethanol. 320, 330 just seems to be where they run out. We did leave this with not much headroom though, so I hope by pulling that valve out that with any luck,
I'd give us, if anything, a bit of safety.
a bit of breathing room, but I don't know about any more power.
Yeah.
But this is also, much like my car, this is also about confirming the power that we do have. What did we make last time?
449 horsepower.
Cool, so that's 100 horsepower more than Supergramps.
Yeah.
Straight up, so we should be seeing a similar number, right, Scotty?
I hope it makes, well, from yours, it should make just exactly the same, and if it doesn't, we'd better go through and do a bit of a health check.
Just work
and
out where it's
look at the
gone.
plugs, look at the injectors, see what's going on. But no, I expect it to do. You said it's been driving nice.
It doesn't feel like it's changed at all, so it's just...
You're not used to it yet?
You sort of do get used to it, but it doesn't feel like it's down on power. Like, I have got used to it, but it doesn't feel broken, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Does it feel broken when you put it on petrol compared to on ethanol?
Mine does.
Yes.
Feel like an intercooler pipe came off?
Mine does.
It's actually
Mine does.
This one's not too bad on 98 because it's a lot older of an engine, but you can still notice the power difference between 98 and the 85. So it is actually currently on 98, just because of the Ks I do and availability of E85 in my local area. But we're going to spin it up on 98, see what it does, and then swap it back to E85 again using the quick connects that we had last time. So
Sick, bro.
Feeling good, Scotty?
Yeah.
Feeling
line
good,
it
ready
up.
to get stuck into it?
Yeah, let's do it now.
sweet.
Mad.
Strap it down, bro.
Tune ahoy.
Your badge is missing, Benny. You're going to put a double Yukon badge on it?
Yeah, man. Hey, man. That's what I'm halfway through doing.
You reckon that's all right for 450 horsepower?
Sweet, bro.
Didn't your 400 kilowatt Evo get strapped on with that?
It did.
Not
It
in
did.
that state.
Not in that state.
Maybe your Evo did that to the straps.
No, I would have checked
Dude,
that carefully.
I love Evos. Did you know that? Like, mine's not
I
technically
don't know whether
an
you're
Evo.
being smart now.
Mine's
Come on.
not technically an Evo, but I do love them.
You've driven one now, haven't you?
Well, my Lancer's an Evo, sort of. I'm not going to go down this road with you. I know where this ends.
Can I do skids on Saturday when we're racing?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Have you got a... We can map that if you want. So you've got to switch somewhere to on and off.
If you just leave the reds on more than 3 seconds, it defaults to two-wheel drive.
No shit.
Like if you leave that on, that'll stay on. See, it's come back on.
Yeah.
What's the plan, dude?
Start it, bro.
So we're going to start the car, which Scotty's just done. And now
No,
we're
he
going to
didn't.
do it again.
Now we've just started the car.
So we're just going to start the car.
But what have we just done to the car?
Look how much more fun he's having now he's in a Nissan. Before he's all super serious. Now
He's already loving it.
life, dude.
He's happy he's not in a ping monster.
It just makes me relax, like nothing's going to go wrong when I'm in a Nissan.
Famous last words. So Scotty's just updated the software and the ECU. We were on a alpha style setup, and now because Haltech's released a new version of that firmware, we're now on the normal firmware that everyone can access.
The public release version. So
Yeah.
you did all the testing for us. Everything's nice, and the trigger type on this that you set up
Yeah.
is all supported now. So we're
Yeah, so now the VH41 trigger pattern is actually just available in the drop-down box in Haltech. So for anyone now that does a VH41 with an Elite, you just go VH41, done. So when we did the original setup, obviously there was no option in the drop-down. So now it's commercially available.
Man, everything looks pretty nice on petrol. So what if we give it a run?
We'll give it a run and see what it does.
Do you want to make more
And-
power on petrol, or are you happy with what it was before?
You do a little bit.
This is the only thing I don't want to do. So if we wind it up on petrol now,
Yeah.
if I then put E85 in, it will still run the same boost, right? Which then will mean we'll run out of fuel.
Well, what we can
Yeah.
do, we dual mapped it anyway. So what we can do is we can have a target boost pressure for petrol, and then a target boost pressure for ethanol.
Oh, okay, cool.
We'll leave that end of it alone because
As it is, but one that boosts up on petrol.
Yeah, for sure.
See what it does. Are you happy to do that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever you want, buddy.
Sweet.
Get excited, Benny?
I'm keen. I'm always excited, bro.
Alright, well I'm going to get out there and film your car like doing power runs.
Yeah, mate, let's do a power run. Our first petrol power run, we just did it to compare to the last one, and I just had a quick look at the data, and the fuel pressure is about 10 pound higher in some points than where it was at the same. I'm pretty sure since we removed that relief valve, it's obviously not bleeding off fuel pressure at the tank anymore. So it seems like we picked up about 10 pound across the board.
That's good news because that's what was holding you back, right?
So potentially we can put more boost into it on E85 tonight.
We've got the fuel sorted. You happy? The ignition timing's good, so everything's right.
Yeah, look, it's responding pretty well to it, so we may as well chuck a little bit of boost into it and see how it reacts to that.
All right, so the first run, I don't expect it to do heaps on this one. I'm going to target 12 pounds and then just get a bit of an idea of how the boost control is working, the percentage of air bleed on the wastegate that we're going to need to get 12 pounds. So this one will get us there by the end, and then the next pull, it'll have 12 pounds perfect.
Yeah, cool. Both pretty happy with the result, so picked up a pretty good chunk, nearly 40 kilowatts across the board. So
yep.
Now we're going to whack it on E85 and see if we can get more of a change, or if we're still going to run out of pump by the time we get to the same sort of level. So we'll put it on E85 and see how it reacts, or see how the pump reacts more than anything. So yeah.
Well said.
What he said.
He knows what's going on.
Thanks, I think. We're about to spin it up on E85 again. So we've just drained all the 98 out, same as last time. Just whack another hose on and bleed it out. So fill the tank with the 85 and about to spin it up first time and see what happens again.
By draining out almost all the premium unleaded, Benny is able to bring the flex fuel composition percentage right up into the 70s, which is about right for what you get on the street. Next up, Tuning Fork runs the car through a range of load points and road speeds to make sure that the tune is right before we start doing power runs.
Just give it a little bit of a crack, eh?
That's like 20 horsepower off the bat over our best pull.
So that was straight up.
That's the best pull we've ever had.
What did we do to it?
That's like the best pull we've ever had, bro.
What did we do?
What is it? What was that? What was it? Sorry, you say that again?
It was 20 horsepower.
No. What was it?
The best pull we've ever had.
Whoa,
What was it?
Yeah.
And we had it together.
We did.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
What did it? Well, Scotty, it just made the most power we ever had,
It did.
and that curve looks really good.
Everything is pretty nice. So that's the first power run that we've done.
On the new map, which was literally...
Yep. But all we've done is we've done it a full tune on petrol. We've set up the flex fuel. We've put in the maths because we know how heavy the petrol is, we know how heavy the ethanol is, and we know the ethanol percentage. So we just went through, and in less than 10 minutes, we just picked a few load sites to make sure that the mixture was going to be plus or minus about 5% of where we want it, which it was. And then we went straight into a pull, and it's come up showing the difference. So keep in mind there, at about 160 k's an hour, it does go just outside the boundaries that I've set for the mixture. So it was just a tiny bit lean. It was still safe, so we'd run it like that. On the road, I want to put a bit of fuel in it there. We'll go
so that's at about 160 k's. It's slightly...
Yep, you can
so it's
see
gone to like 12.6, 12.7 maybe, 12.8.
12.5 is my limit there for what I want you to be driving.
So it's basically nearly cracked at 13.
Yeah, but keep in mind that on E80 we could run this car at 12 sevens, 12 eights, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But
We just want to make it safe for longevity.
because it's you, Benny, because you're a thrasher.
You are a thrasher,
I don't know what
Benny.
you mean.
You're a thrasher. That's like the third person to say it. But that's good, man. You drive it like you stole it. I like it.
Time and place, guys.
Use it properly.
Look at this bike. Best pull he's ever had, full thrasher.
And yeah,
Hard and fast.
what's the plan for the next couple of runs, man? I don't want to annoy you each time. What are we looking for?
We're going to just, the red line is the one we just did for the mixture, so I just want to touch up that mixture a little bit. Just put a little bit of fuel everywhere. Then we'll just start feeding timing into it on the ethanol, and we'll put 2 degrees in at a time until it stops making power. Then we'll pull 3 degrees out, and then we'll call it a day.
So I'm seeing up there a very, very significant 358.7 kilowatts or 481 horsepower. And so that's using the same fuel pump setup we had last time. This is not your new setup that you still got to do, right?
Yeah, we've still got to do that, so there still is some development to be done. But with the main difference between now and last time is there was a little bleed valve on the top of the pump that we didn't know, well, we didn't know what it did. So now we've replaced that with a piece of hard line, and it's directly feeding the top hat.
So it's happier, but you're still limited by fuel pump,
We
right?
still have run out of pump, so we've sort of confirmed what we already knew, but we've been able to pick up a little bit more by reducing that, removing that check valve. So
Yeah. And 360 kilowatts, that's like, is that a 40 kilowatt increase on last time?
320-ish, 320,
330 did 335, so we picked up about 30 horsepower over the last E85 tune.
Nice.
So, and same with the 98 numbers, it's about 30 horsepower gain. So pretty good result from tonight. So
we've leaned on it just a little bit harder, so we've been a bit more aggressive with the ignition timing. I suppose knowing that it's got another pump setup coming,
yeah,
there's no real need, I guess, to lean on it any harder now, because basically what happens is, as you sort of start to run out of fuel pump, you run out of fuel pressure, you run out of fuel flow. So even though the mixtures look right, the flow or against, like across the fuel rails from one end to the other end.
So potentially each cylinder is getting a different amount of fuel.
Exactly right. Yeah. So it's not worth going any further. So when we put the second set of pumps in it, mate,
go for days.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So we'll just get rid of this. So in the logs here, we can see that we've got
still got a bit of a pressure drop there.
We've got pressure drop so the manifold pressure comes up and stays flat, but the fuel pressure goes down. So that's showing us that we're simply running out of fuel.
And to be clear, Benny, because I know there was some misunderstanding last time, it is getting an upgraded fuel system, but it's also a fairly substantial job to do, right?
Yeah, we're not just chucking another pump in the tank, so there will be a proper external surge setup and twin pumps, a new hardline run into the bay, so it's not literally just whack a pump in and off we go.
Yeah,
so
and there's like new wiring and different
new wiring.
hoses?
We're running 2 relays instead of 1. Currently we're running the OEM relay, so we're going to upgrade that to a heavy duty relay and then run a second heavy duty relay to control the second pump. So it's not just like whack a pump in and off we go. So there's a fair bit of sort of more work we have to do than just whack a pump in it. So because even in the tank we can't just run more wires into that and run a second pump in the tank.
Cool. Well, it looks like for now you'll just have to deal with 481 horsepower,
What a
which
shame.
is significant. And we might pick up this story once there's some pumps and stuff to look
Chuck
at.
some more pumps in and we'll go again.
Mad. Good job, dudes. Piss me. Well done, Mr. Tuning Fork.
Good job, Scotty.
So there it is, 2 wagons with engine conversions, big turbos, ethanol, and a score to settle. The next time we'll see each other is at the start of the drag strip for a bit of friendly competition.